a multiple visitor to our show, always brings great NBA stuff. So I want to start, Sports Illustrated, you've written an article on Sam Presti, and he's the guy engineering Oklahoma City, and he loses Kevin Durant, and this has been difficult. I think he's a very smart guy. For the record, he's been really good in the draft. So, like, we all look at Harden leaving and Kevin Durant leaving, but he did land each of them.
Right.
Like, I could make the argument that Sam Presti has been the best drafting GM in the league for a decade.
Yeah, he went Durant, Westbrook, Harden. That's about as good of a 3 years as you can have. And then you go Ibaka at 24, Reggie Jackson at 24, Steven Adams at 12. So, yeah, it's a pretty good draft record. So that kind of brings into bear that question. Do you give somebody the credit for taking those guys, or do you give them the blame for losing them?
When you talk to Sam Presti, is there a lingering effect with KD's leaving? Does it still hurt?
Yeah, I think that there's always going to be this feeling that that chapter wasn't finished, that they had built something there. They knew when they lost Harden, okay, we're going to go forward with Westbrook and Durant. They won 60 games the next year. I think they feel as though they should be the champion this year, as if they should be the 1 seed in the West and not the Warriors. And if they had Durant and they had Westbrook, and let's say they made the Oladipo trade before the Durant left, would they be your number 1 seed, Colin? They would be mine.
They would be mine because I do believe their size and length is underrated. Steve Adams, a nice player. I think we too often made them a two-man team, and I thought they had ancillary pieces that I liked in OKC.
Well, in that series against the Warriors, even though they lost, it felt like a turning point there. And the Warriors coming back from a 3-1, the 3-1 deficit and losing that series, you would think that maybe they'd be shaken. Maybe they would have taken a step back. Look, all of these are, of course, are hypotheticals at this point, but I think that's where the disappointment is for Oklahoma City. Is like, we were right there. We planned for it. These guys were just entering their primes. We had young talent around them, and now you're kind of starting over.
I think there's been a little bit, and I understand it emotionally, that they lose Harden, they lose Durant, and they don't want to lose Westbrook. So they're going to make a point of, we're going to get you this MVP. We're going to support you. If we have to tweak your rebounds a little bit, we're going to get this thing. Much like schools in college for the Heisman, some schools are not going to promote you. It's above them. Some schools are like, hey, West Virginia gets a Heisman candidate. We're going to promote this for West Virginia football. Maybe Alabama doesn't need to do that.
Right.
Okay, but maybe other schools don't. I do feel, though, there's been a little bit of an inorganic push toward get Westbrook the MVP. Am I wholly inaccurate here?
Individually or for the organization? Because he doesn't do a lot of promotion. It's not as though he's out there.
No, but they want him to win this puppy.
Of course. And the Rockets do too. I mean, that's one thing I find interesting about the NBA is that it is like the Heisman. And in other sports, like baseball, it's not like that, is it? The NFL, it's not like that.
No.
But with Houston, it's the same way. I mean, with Harden, it feels like the same way. It feels like there is not as much with the Spurs, and maybe they're the Alabama in this analogy. But
they're above it. Yes, I agree with you. The Alabama and the Spurs, they almost see them like USC. We're kind of above promoting Heismans.
Right.
I don't think Alabama had a Heisman winner I don't even know. I think a few years ago they had one of their first. But I do think with Oklahoma City not being a glamorous market, could I argue in Oklahoma City, and I'm not blaming them. I don't want to be mean-spirited. There's a little insecurity that we are not in a glamorous town. We've lost 2 stars. God, we're not letting this happen again.
I think this is partly a function of just the super team era. And if you've got all these clusters of stars, what else are these teams going for? At this point, this season has been about the individual to me as much as it's been about the team.
In my life.
And I think that's why the MVP award has become such a big deal, so transcendent. If you're Oklahoma City, if you're the Rockets, all you have is this one guy. And you're trying to get the MVP for him because, let's be honest, you're probably not going to be able to get the big trophy. And that's where, to me, the issue is, how do you build around that one guy? Houston's had 3 years. They've meticulously, Daryl Morey, to his credit, meticulously crafted a roster around Harden. Oklahoma City, they had to kind of throw it together around Westbrook on the fly. They had talent. Was that talent a perfect complement for him? No, probably.
So Kevin Durant, who you know well and you've written about, goes to Oklahoma and does great things, gets to a final, loses, decides to jettison OKC and go to Golden State. They get off to a great start. He gets hurt. The Warriors get better without him. The optics here for KD are very strange. Oklahoma City's pretty darn good without him.
Right.
And he got hurt in Golden State, and they went, I think, at the end, 13-0 without him. Is he become almost a Gronkish figure that we know KD is great, but his value's debatable?
No, when he's on the court for them, their numbers are off the charts. And his efficiency numbers this season, he sacrificed shots. Really, other guys haven't. The way how efficient he's become there, I think, is going to be sort of what he's remembered for this season. I think the question more, Colin, is did they need him? No, they didn't need him. They can win 13, 14, however many in a row without him. But he's still massively valuable. And it just goes back to the conversation we were just having. If he were in Oklahoma City, we would both probably pick them to win the title this year. Without him, they're a 6 seed and they're potentially out in the first round.
Adam Silver was initially concerned when KD went to the Warriors. He felt it was too many good players in one spot.
Right.
Looking at the NBA ratings, was Adam Silver right?
Yeah. It is too many.
It's hurt the league.
I mean, you look back at the 2011 lockout and what came out of that. The idea was 2 stars. 2 stars a team and no more. Now we're at a point where is 3 even enough anymore? I mean, look, if you're Cleveland and you've got 3, you're looking up at the Warriors right now, and do you really feel like you have a legitimate shot to win? Maybe, but a lot of the league is sort of looking at the Warriors right now as an insurmountable hill. And that's partly because they just won 13 in a row, and they're getting Kevin Durant back. And it's not as though that struggle for the ball is really happening because KD has deferred in some ways and is so efficient. It's hard to sit here on the first day, and we're going into the playoffs right now, or you're hyping up the playoffs, but it's like, do you see a way for that team to lose? And at this point, barring injury, it's hard to come up with one.
Kobe Bryant, it's a 1-year anniversary today of his 60-point game. Jason Whitlock and I argued on this. I said it was completely authentic. Kobe Bryant having 32 assists in his last game would be inauthentic.
Right.
People went to that game and wanted to see Kobe, like the great artist, one last act. It's Elvis's last show. It's Sinatra's last show. You play New York, New York. They wanted to see jumpers. What was your takeaway on that 60-point game?
This is one of the most fun things I've ever covered.
Really?
Because of... It was so him because of how many shots it took him to get it. I mean, it was kind of outrageous, the volume of shots it took, but it was sort of the perfect cap for his career. I mean, if you remember, he started slow in that game. He didn't get off to a good start at all. And then you sort of felt this wave kind of build in the arena, and guys kept passing him the ball, and the Jazz looked like they were playing no defense at all. And when he was making shots down the stretch, it felt like a finals atmosphere at Staples Center that night. It was, there are elements of that night that I'll kind of never forget. When he walked in, it was like one of those Academy Awards sort of entrances. Like they blocked off the media. You had to be behind these bars. There was like a red carpet for him. And look, he's one of those people who kind of captivated this city, but also the basketball world, not based on those traditional basketball values. It was based on just he was really fun to watch score and watch shoot the ball, and that's what he did that night. Large.
I've said I thought he was more entertaining to watch. This is weird to say than Michael. I think Michael's the better player, but Michael had 3 stock moves, maybe 4. Kobe was the ultimate artist. He was the great bad shot maker of my generation. Phil Mickelson's not as good as Tiger. Phil's a better bad shot maker. I saw Kobe play 8-10 times live. He's done things I've never seen a human do.
Well, and it's funny because we're talking about Westbrook and Harden, and those guys both grew up in L.A., mid-2000s. Their formative basketball years were when Kobe was going on those crazy jags, those bad teams, but he's scoring 60, the night he scored 80. They were kids then, and they were watching him all the time locally. And when you look at what they've both done this season as far as the spectacle of the individual, to me it kind of harkens back to that era a little bit. Now, was that good for basketball? Was it good for the Lakers? That's debatable. But when I see them now, those 2 guys kind of taking over in this way,
it has a Kobe feel.
That's been the most interesting part of the season. The season hasn't been about team competition. It's been about two and even more with Kawhi and LeBron, spectacular individual performances.
We'll come back, size up the NBA playoffs, which start Saturday, the Herd. All right, let's start Cavs, Pacers, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this has to be like that Pistons series was last year for the Cavs. They found themselves in that series. There were some spring struggles then too, but in that series, they kind of hit their groove. The Pistons played them tough, but they still dispatched them in 4 games. I think this will probably be 5 games. The Cavs have a lot of issues. I think those issues will come up later. I don't necessarily know that the Pacers can bring them out. What do you think?
By and large, outside of March, Paul George had a pretty average season. and the players they brought over, like a Jeff Teague, to me didn't click. So I'm with you on this. I think it's a 5-game series. I think Cleveland's vulnerable defensively, but I don't think Indiana can expose them of that.
George was sensational in the second half.
Yes.
I mean, he's capable. But look, if you're in the playoffs, you're going to face a star. It's inevitable. It's about, I think, more about what else Indiana has. And you're right, they don't have a ton outside of him.
Let's move through this one quickly. Raptors and Bucks, your takeaway.
A lot of teams wanted to avoid the Bucks. A lot of those teams at the top of the Eastern Conference feared the Bucks a little bit, fear the deer. But the Raptors, I think, have played so well without Kyle Lowry. There was some confidence, I think, infused into that team. This feels like if the Raptors are going to have a year, have a moment, this may be the one with Serge Ibaka now helping them around the basket. I think the Raptors are a scary team to go pretty deep and challenge the Cavs.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee's got a young player, could be a Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon, and they also have the Greek Freak. Jabari Parker's hurt when he comes back. I like where Milwaukee's going. Yeah. They're not there yet. I'll take Toronto in
Middleton
5.
sort of is the guy who would have to become that second star for them in this series, possible, but probably not this year.
Spurs, Grizzlies. I'm doing these games in the order they'll be televised. This will be a Saturday series. Spurs, to me, win it in 5. Memphis always, though, has given them trouble.
Yeah, I remember that series when they upset them as the 8 over the 1. They've had more struggles with them. Marc Gasol, though, was out last year. This year, they're fairly healthy by their standards, at least. Conley's playing well. Listen, Kawhi Leonard has carried that team in large degree this season. Can he do it in the playoffs? And we just talked about him a little bit. That's another challenge. That's a different kind of challenge. Can he sustain that kind of performance and put them on his back a little bit more in the playoffs? I think the Grizzlies will test them. I think that'll be a slog of a series.
Okay, Spurs are well rested. Clippers, Jazz. I think the Jazz are a nice young team. For some reason, the Clippers have won 18 of 20.
Yeah,
I think DeAndre Jordan kind of shuts down their bigs. He is such a great rim protector. I saw him live last night. I would take the Clippers, although I will tell you, they don't shoot the ball well on all night, and their chemistry at times seems a tad off.
Right. Yeah, they've always been a tad off. But I think Chris Paul kind of has his way with the Jazz, and I think you're right about DeAndre. He's able to neutralize that Rudy Gobert factor, although Gobert has taken a huge leap this year.
Yeah.
That could be the best first-round series of the lot, but when you look at the Clippers' kind of past dominance of them, so much at stake for the Jazz, really. I mean, Gordon Hayward's going to be a free agent this summer, so I'm sure he wants to see some progress and potentially a first-round win here.
By the way, in 30 minutes, Doc Rivers on the show, and there's some pressure on Doc now. He's got a new owner. They had a very big crowd last night. They're giving away things on fan appreciation. They're not going to appreciate Doc if he gets bounced by the Utah Jazz. Wizards, Hawks feels like a series that should be on NBA TV primarily. John Wall's been good in first rounds, has not won a second-round series. Listen, Paul Millsap is your best player. It feels like Washington's backcourt scoring wins the series. I think John's a better player this year. I'd go Washington quickly.
They almost remind me of Houston a little bit. It's different the way they're kind of made, but everybody really knows their roles. It's John Wall's team. Everything revolves around John Wall, like the Rockets around Harden. You have guys like Otto Porter and Beal and Markieff Morris. They understand the hierarchy. They understand the roles they play. John Wall's been too good this season to go out in the first round. I mean, he's been one of the 5 best players in the NBA. I can't imagine that he doesn't move on.
Warriors, Blazers seems like a quick series to me.
Yeah.
C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard are terrific backcourt tandem, but they don't play defense, either one. That's why I'm surprised they haven't moved one of them. They're a big liability defensively, and I think if you're going to beat Golden State, that can't be your liability. I think it's a quick series.
Yeah, they'll need Nurkic back, the Bosnian Beast, probably to be competitive. But, yeah, I don't know who's going to beat the Warriors. It certainly wouldn't be the Blazers.
Celtics, Bulls, Boston, I like their coach, solid bench. They play defense. We were joking this morning in our staff meeting that Chicago has 3 guards, none can shoot, which in 2017 is kind of an odd paradigm. Right. I think I like Boston easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch the series pretty closely just because you have the 3 guys. I mean, if Rondo's healthy, he played last night, if he's able to play and sort of summon something, I mean, you're talking about players who, that TNT stat, you know how they never lose on TNT, that's not just a fluke. Some guys play better when the lights are brightest. Guys like Rondo, Dwayne Wade, you're liable to see something out of some of those old hands, and given their experience in this series that may be a little bit unexpected. So the Bulls shouldn't win this series, but with those three guys, I think that they could at least make it interesting.
I'll take Brad Stevens, Isaiah Thomas, and I think the team that plays better defense, I'll take Boston. All right, Rockets Thunder's easily the best series. Who do you like and why?
I love that subplot of not Harden and Westbrook, but the two defensive foils. The fact that Patrick Beverley will be nipping at Westbrook's sneakers the entire series, and on the other side, Andre Robertson will be doing the same for Harden. Harden hasn't played great against the Thunder, and there's still emotion there. I mean, as much as he wanted to get out and spread his wings and become a star, when you ask him about the Thunder and about leaving there's still a feeling like something was left unwritten. So I think going back there is always going to be challenging for him. They've played a playoff series against them before, so it's not like this will be the first time. But those two defensive players, to me, are the guys to watch, because Harden and Westbrook, as great as that matchup will be, they won't actually be on each other. It'll be Robertson and Beverley doing the dirty work.
I like OKC's size. I like Houston's bench. I'd probably go Houston in 6 or 7.
They've been built. They're built around Harden. The other thing was thrown around Westbrook. So that, to me, is the difference in the two teams. Is Harden's team is perfectly crafted for him. Westbrook's isn't necessarily.
Now, I know your voting MVP is going to be...
It's same as yours, right?
No, I know. You're a Westbrook guy.
I mean, I was Harden all year. I do think it's kind of like if somebody hit 400 or if somebody threw 50 touchdown passes.
You're being seduced, Lee Jenkins, by the historical landmark.
I'm being seduced by this idea that in 10, 15 years, we'll look back at this season and it'll be defined by Westbrook, that's who we'll remember. And I know that that's not a great analytical argument, but I do think that what he's done, and look, I was all Harden until the last few weeks, and I felt like Westbrook sort of crossed this threshold into something that was historic, not simply for the triple doubles, but because there just haven't been this many. We haven't seen a one-man act quite like this ever.